I never said this. I wanted to be done with DJing.
Really?
I'm dead serious. I am just really focused on being the best version of myself in everything that I could do. As you grow older, your priorities shift. I have always been one that I like to see people win. It ain't no scenario that you're going through now that I haven't been through. It's only right that the elders in the business pass on the knowledge. If it is you want to be a DJ, do it for the right reason. Mental preparation is so important to your sets as a DJ. Some glorify what they see on social media. Well, let me tell you something. Social media is a lie. We're in a time now where everybody likes everything now. They want to be like a Puffy, like a Private Ryan. No. When they don't understand, to reach where they are took years. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I'll tell you, the first time I went on a set to play, they pulled me off after 3 minutes. A good DJ plays what you want to hear, but a great DJ plays stuff that you didn't think you want to hear. As a DJ, you have to control the music. You cannot let the music control you.
You have been a mentor for Puffy.
Puffy is phenomenal. Anytime I see Puffy on a stage, I feel proud.
That was the perfect teacher and student clash I have ever seen.
Yo, that was crazy. For the Red Bull 3-style competition, I'm not saying that this is the reason that Puffy won, but...
Before we get into the episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our membership site we built on Heartbeat. If you are a freelancer, a business, or a brand, or you're thinking about starting, then this community is for you. Sign up by going to your browser and type gemcity.app, GEMCITY.app. Sign up with your email and you will receive a magic link. You will also be prompted to download the mobile app. Once you get inside, you'll be able to connect with other entrepreneurs, personal brands, and creatives. You will also find courses and resources that can help you on your entrepreneurship journey. More and more content will be added each month. Come for the content and stay for the community. See you on the inside.
I get the money and it's right on cue. Keep the duffel bag up inside my coupe. Hold a couple racks, tell them I love you. You wanna be a boss, do it like I do. Yeah. Get that money, I'ma flex. I get that money, I'ma flex. I get that money, I'ma flex. You now rockin' with the best.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of Gems from Friends Season 4. Get ready to dive into the exciting world of entrepreneurs, creatives, and professionals. Our guests will be sharing some incredible stories about their journey and all the cool things they have learned while building their personal brand. If you feel like listening on the go, then you can catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're more into the visuals, check us out on YouTube for the full experience. And do not forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on the latest episode. Now, let's get into it. So the person in front of me today is a DJ, radio programmer, engineer, mentor, dad, husband. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scratch Master.
What an introduction, boy. Forgot that I was all those things, but yes, thank you.
I was like, I missed something. There's something that I'm missing. What are you missing?
Nah, I ain't think you're missing anything. I think you have everything down pack right there. Everything down pack.
Yeah, man. So I want to start off by saying that I always want to know where Scratch came from. And people probably want to know where have Scratch been, especially Bajans.
All right.
So we start with the first one.
The first one, where Scratch came from, I'm originally from Trinidad.
Right.
All right. I left Trinidad in the 90s because my parents' job relocated them to Grenada. Mm-hmm. While in Grenada, I got involved with, well, I always liked music, but in Grenada, I got involved in radio. That's where the first love for radio and so on came, right? Love music and so on. And it also was in Grenada that I learned how to DJ.
Okay.
All right. That's the foundation of what I did.
Okay.
Now, being in Grenada, still in school, I met up with Simply Smooth. And he's the one that I would say guided me the right way. Okay. Because, you could like something, but it don't mean that there's something like you.
Right.
Right. And I always believe there's a right and a wrong way to do everything in life. And that guidance really set the foundation. Now, after Grenada, I started working in the bank, left the bank to do radio full time. You know, young, took a chance. Didn't know where it would have taken me, but I took a chance, right? And what's interesting is that when I left the bank, literally within 1 year of leaving and doing radio full time, Simply Smooth and them said that they had to go to St. Vincent to do a gig and if I wanted to come. So I went. And while I was in St. Vincent, I met up with, the thing about it is Grenada and St. Vincent are pretty close, right? So we talking about before internet was a thing and all of that.
Right.
So the radio stations in Grenada, transmission used to reach St. Vincent, but I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So while I was there, a guy by the name of Bing pulled me aside and he asked me if I would be interested in working on a radio station in St. Vincent and that Chinese Laundry was going to be involved. I just had to hear the name Chinese Laundry because he was one that growing up in Trinidad as a teenager, I mean, you idolize this guy, that's when you had cassettes and so on and so forth. So hearing that, and I knew the radio station that he had in Trinidad, it was a win-win for me. And I went. I said, yeah, no problem. Was in St. Vincent for 7 or 8 years. And the funny thing is this, though. I never said this. When I left Grenada to go to St. Vincent, I wanted to be done with DJing.
Really?
I'm dead serious.
But what brought you to that point?
What brought me to that point is that, okay, yes, I learned how to do it in Grenada and so on and so forth, but I was like, I'm tired of this thing. What next is there for me to do in it, really? And I'm talking about me in my early 20s saying I'm done with DJing, right? So when I went to St. Vincent for the radio station, that would have been around 2001 or 2002, around there. Literally 2 months into the station opening, a new nightclub was opening in St. Vincent.
Right.
And Bing, who was the program director at this time at Hot 97, brought the owner of the club to me. And you probably know him. His name is Christopher John from Limas.
Yeah.
And he booked me for the first night. I said, man, I done with this DJ thing, but all right, cool. Did it. Long story short, I ended up being the resident DJ. And it was in St. Vincent that I learned the art of playing and talking for myself.
Right.
Because this might be interesting. In Grenada, I wasn't DJing and playing out. I was the mic man.
Okay.
For Simply Smooth.
All right.
And then when I went to...
I can't see that, though.
You can't see that, right? But that's how it was. I used to do all the talking. Adrian did all the playing. When I went to St. Vincent, I was a one-man army. Talk, play at the same time. And that's where it was. Now, how I ended up in Barbados is another interesting story because... And I always believe in life, things happen for a reason. You meet people for a reason. So imagine I'm in St. Vincent now. And again, because of the connection with Chinese Laundry, I met the staff of 96.1 and so on. And there was a certain member of staff that was in production, editing. He went to Barbados for a party in Extreme. Heard Bubba mashing up the place, King Bubba. So then he messaged me, and this is when he had MSN Messenger. Messages me, and MSN Messenger. He messages me, and he says, Scratch, it had this DJ boy, the man was playing some nice remixes and thing, but I'm going to give you his MSN because I on Mac, and I can't use that, which is on PC. Right? Because, I don't know, MSN, I used to use PC. So he knew I was on the PC platform. So he gave me Bubba's MSN Messenger and told me to message him. And he's expecting a message from me. I don't know Bubba from Adam. His real name is Adam. But
What's the irony of that, right?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I messaged Bubba, right? Lyndon said, ting, ting, ting. Bubba was cool. And then Bubba I started to exchange remixes. He liked what I was giving him. So much that within a couple months, he convinced his father, Habib, who owned Club Extreme, to bring me to Barbados to play in the club. All right? Came, wow, look, Habib calling me here. Interesting. Came, did what I did in the club, went very well, but I miss Extreme. I mean, you would have partied in Extreme and so
sure.
on.
We
I
all miss Extreme.
I miss Extreme. I'm going to say it all day.
We
I
should
miss
answer your
Extreme.
phone. Like, we hear the conversation.
I'll call Habib back. Yeah, but I miss Extreme. So
Extreme was way before its time.
I believe it was way before its time. I mean, that was the first time I ever saw a nightclub that was designed to have a wet fet.
Yeah.
Inside,
yeah.
I was like, Bubba, well, how are you doing this wet fet? You have all the equipment. He said, nah, when you look, you see, a lot of thought.
Wet fet or more like a foam
But
party?
now wet too, because they had sprinklers and things letting off water inside there. But the way they designed the dance floor, it wouldn't affect anything. So within the second or third time coming, Bubba told me they applied for a license. And they might want me to come Barbados if I would be interested. So I didn't take it for nothing. I said, well, when we reach that bridge, we'll cross it. Then I got the call. Scratch, we get through the license, and that's how I ended up in Barbados.
Right. And you just left everything and went over.
Yeah, it was a little, well, I wouldn't say it was challenging per se in a negative manner, but I had a bit more to take into consideration.
Right.
When I left Grenada to go to St. Vincent, I was practically single.
Okay.
No chick, no child, so to speak. Scratch alone, early 20s thing. Now I had a bit more responsibility. I had my girlfriend at the time who's now my wife. And, I had to, it's not only a decision for me, but it's a decision for her.
Right. Yeah.
So we had a couple conversations and we decided, okay, we would come across to Barbados. And that's how Slam started, coming across here. Because one thing I always liked with Barbados is it had a vibrant nightlife, and Habib's vision for the station was just at the right time. Because Slam was more on the pop side of things. And that was when you had a lot of your urban artists like Usher and Ludacris and these guys moving from hip hop a little bit to do
the R&B pop.
The R&B pop kind of vibe. So that marriage just worked.
Yeah, so on the topic of Extreme, actually no, so Slam, you were the program manager for Slam.
So basically, when I came to Barbados, Habib said to me, I have a new radio station, and I want pop. That was the only direction. Right? It took Habib carrying me to Miami to really understand how it should be delivered. Because remember, I came from a culture in St. Vincent and in Grenada, it was heavy dancehall, hip-hop, soca. Yeah, you knew some pop songs, but it wasn't so much of a big deal. So going to Miami really opened my eyes on how it could work and why it would work, in my estimate. Because from the times when I came, before Slam was open and I came to Barbados, I told Habib, one of my biggest observations with radio stations here, I have to wait too long to hear a hit song.
Yeah,
it was painful.
Yeah.
I had to wait too long to hear a current hit song, I should say. So with that in mind, and I mean, Slam was very fortunate when it opened to have the star power that it had.
It had a big lineup.
It had a big lineup, and this is even before Puffy joined. With Alex Jordan. With Envy doing her thing. Big up to DMZ as well, who's still there. It really was a solid cast, a talented cast. And what I really liked is that I had the freedom to do what I wanted.
Okay.
They trusted me 110% with the direction. If I said, boy, I think we need to go so, all right, Scratch, we going so.
What do you think were the qualities that you displayed that stand out for Habib?
I think some of the qualities I displayed, what got his interest in me first was how I played in the club.
Right.
The relationship I had with his son, Bubba. That's another thing. And Habib came to St. Vincent to see how the operation was there before engaging me. And he saw all of that. And that is what led to the trust between himself and I.
Yeah, so I want to get into now. We went into before, now what's going on now. Because people obviously not seeing Scratch in events anymore in Barbados. So where are you now?
Right now I'm in Grenada. Program director of a radio station in Grenada, #1 station in Grenada, Power 95. I had reached a point with Slam that Slam had reached, was in a good place. And a new challenge. I always like to be challenged, right? And Grenada, which is where I started in radio, I know what the climate was like there. And I had the opportunity to do what I did for Barbados with Slam, for Grenada with Power 95, and that led me to go there. I mean, I still have a very tight bond with Slam. Slam is still like a baby
Still
to
family,
me.
yeah.
Because ultimately, Slam is the first station, I would say, I was able to design from the ground up.
Right.
The first. St. Vincent wasn't like that. St. Vincent had a structure that came from Trinidad that I was just a part of. But Slam was literally almost everything, from the naming of shows to deciding who works where and all of that was under my direction. But I still have a, very, very good relationship. Fingerprint still gets me inside.
You got residency all over. Vinci, Trinidad, Barbados.
Boy.
Even like your accent, sometimes just try to figure out like what's Crash accent
Don't
really
try. Don't
thing
try.
real mix up.
Don't try, boy. Don't try at all.
Yeah, man. So the other thing I want to ask you is, how have you managed the life and work balance, especially skipping from island to island?
Well, skipping from island to island, the life and work balance isn't hard. And talking about from a radio station perspective, it isn't that difficult. The beauty is with technology now, you could work from home. And I think the pandemic exposed that for many of us. And this is something that I could have done from even before, and with radio, it allows you to do that. So it isn't really that difficult. With regards to playing out, however, I've become a bit more selective,
Right.
with where I want to align Scratch Master, so to
brand,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't, as you grow older, your priorities shift.
Right.
And even our good friend Puffy is starting to realize that. You start to realize, man,
What was important before?
yeah, what was important before ain't necessarily so important now.
Yeah.
And you know what I saw that was interesting on Instagram? Someone said that they prefer to go to parties that start like 4:00 in the afternoon and finish like around midnight or something. So at least you could get almost a full night's
A
sleep.
full night, yeah.
As opposed to parties start 10 and you're waltzing until 1:00, and that kind of thing.
Then you're
So,
back home at 4, 5.
5 and
already
barely
set up.
getting sleep. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, day parties is definitely it now.
Yeah, day parties for sure. Give me that any time of day, bro.
But talking about growing older, someone told me today that Scratch doesn't seem to age.
Well, that's a good thing. I ain't nothing bad to say about that.
People like, doing some research and saw some photos of you in Club Extreme. It's like, but he looked the same now. I didn't know Extreme was years ago.
Well, I think it all depends on how you want to treat yourself.
Yeah.
And, in terms of exercising, in terms of musically trying to stay relevant, even though it could be challenging as you get older.
Yeah.
It really depends on how you want to have your brand, look
Yeah.
out there for people.
Throughout the years, what do you think changed in the DJ culture in the Caribbean?
Oh, Lord.
From the time you started to now, what do you think are the biggest changes?
There are many changes. First, technology. I am one that totally embraces technology where music is concerned. I no longer have to walk with 3, 4, 5, 6 crates of records if I'm traveling overseas to do a gig. And being able to use your laptop. Technology is one of the first changes. However, what you find, and what I find, and I'm going to speak for myself here, I'm not going to speak for everybody, is that to me, because it has gotten so easily accessible, that any and anybody is doing it, Some are not taking the time to understand how to do it properly.
Right.
And I mentioned this before in the podcast. In anything that you do in life, I don't care. There's a right and a wrong way to do it. You know, if you're learning to fly a plane, right, and you're going to flight school, they are going to show you certain things so that you navigate this aircraft in a safe manner. If it is you're learning to cook, I don't care how trends change and so on, there is still the fundamental of a right and a wrong way of doing things. And I think that a lot of the DJs now are missing that guidance that I would have gotten. Because, like, I look at the younger DJs on my team and I tell them all the time, you know, it ain't no scenario that you're going through now that I haven't been through, you know? So when I'm offering advice, it's not because I like to talk, but you're coming from a space of knowledge, you know? And that
you find that they want the knowledge though? Like they want
I think some of them want the knowledge. Genuinely, some of them want the knowledge, and it is only right for the elders in the business, because I'm not the only DJ in the world. It's only right that the elders in the business pass on the knowledge to the younger ones. Because for me, I have always been one that I like to see people win. I don't want to be the only one winning. I like to see, you know, people progress and prosper and so on. And that needs to happen, because you have some people now, they're learning, they're watching YouTube. All right, that's fine. But trust me, there's some fundamentals to this thing that's missing.
What else do you think changed other than the technology?
Other than the technology.
Because we're talking about technology, do you think that is important for a DJ to understand equipment?
Oh, yes, very. Equipment is very important. Understanding your gear inside out, so that depending on whatever situation you're in, you know, especially if you're playing out, you know, within minutes, you could figure out what is going wrong if something is going wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that is very important.
Yeah.
Understanding the equipment, also understanding the crowd that you're playing for. You know, being able to read a crowd, that is so important, because what would work in, and I tell you, some people look at DJing and think, oh, he's just playing music. It's not just playing music. Let me tell you something. Anytime I have to play out, right? For me, mental preparation is so important to your sets as a DJ. You know, in terms of mentally putting yourself in the frame of mind, mentally going through your songs and on your laptop, and also understanding how to read your crowd. Now, granted, reading a crowd comes with experience. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But I think we're in a time now where everybody likes everything now.
Yeah.
You have Instagram. It is instant. No. Everything, no.
Yeah.
So you have DJs that come out, they get a controller, they get a laptop, they have some songs, and they believe that they want to be like a Puffy.
Right.
Or, you know, or like a Private Ryan. No. When they don't understand what these guys doing to reach where they are, took years.
It took years. And I think that's something is missing. I don't know about the other islands, but for sure in Barbados, I don't know if there's enough night spots or, you know, places where it allows the DJ to grow or performers to grow. So for instance, like if you think Club Extreme, when you think shipping, and then it was sugar. So we have weekly events happening every week.
Yeah.
So we had a space that DJs and artists could have grown on. So I think people are going straight from the bedroom studio and going straight on a big stage. There's no in between. There's no grooming. There's no like where they're supposed to get the experience from. So I think that's something that's missing.
You know, I didn't even look at it like that, and that is so true, because like for me, when I was in St Vincent, when I said I was practically done with music and I ended up in the club, it was because of being in that club and playing every week that it allowed me to grow now, understand how to read crowds, because the crowd on a Friday might not be the same crowd on a Saturday, you know, and develop your craft.
Yeah.
You know, that takes time. But no, guys don't want to do that. And you know what's another big mistake with some DJs make? When you just want to play for forward.
Yeah, it's
As a-
forward movement. Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to understanding just because people aren't jumping up to touch the ceiling, that don't if it is a crowd isn't doing that, it doesn't mean that they're not and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not enjoying themselves. You know?
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
It's a journey you gotta take them on. And if you keep them up there all these things is like you can peak and then you can cap and you can fall off.
Yeah, when you're building a house, you start with a foundation. You don't start the house from the roof.
Yeah. So you gotta build slowly,
Yeah.
carry it up, then bring it down again, and then carry it up. Or you can just lose momentum completely.
And I think being versatile helps as a DJ.
Yeah.
Because I saw a quote recently, and it's true. A good DJ plays what you want to hear, but a great DJ plays stuff that you didn't think you want to hear.
Right. Right.
You know, and that is true.
What do you think about the new music? Like, why are DJs so scared to break music and only play what is already popular?
Again, there's a certain comfort zone, and it depends on what new music. It really depends on what new music, and it depends on the genre, because that new music talk is a whole different conversation for me, right? You and I have had that conversation many a time.
Yeah.
Right? But I think I understand where you're coming from in the sense of experimenting. Like for me, for instance, back in like even in the days of Sugar and so on, if I want to play a new song, right? The way I would do it or the way I would approach it, if I'm not sure if this song is going to get people moving or if I'm not sure what the reaction is going to be, I'm going to make sure the song after that is one that I know for sure is going to get a reaction.
So you put like a
So
safety
it's a
zone.
win-win if they move to that,
Yeah.
and I have the guaranteed one after, you know? But again, there's ways to do it. And another important thing DJs need to do whenever you have a gig, especially if it's a place that you've never played at before or a venue you've never done, do your homework. Most times these promoters would put up recaps of stuff that would have happened in the same event, especially if it's an annual event, you know, and know who you're playing for. It's very important to know who you're playing for, you know, because what would work for a 15 to 25-year-old crowd ain't necessarily going to work for a 35 to 40, 45 going up there.
Yeah. So a lot of the work, by hearing you speak, a lot of the work is really when you're off stage.
Really, when you want?
When you're off the stage
Oh, yeah.
is the preparation and really understanding the crowd and researching it and that kind of thing, you know, instead of just trying to just go from stage to stage and just play it.
No, you can't do that. And also showing up for your gigs early. Showing up early enough to at least hear the DJ before you so that you know, okay, if it is he played these artists, chances are, you know, and what I'm getting at with this point is this. If I go to an event, for instance, and say the DJ before me plays like a Jay-Z, Give It To Me, right? And it moves the crowd. I automatically know if the crowd likes a Jay-Z, Give It To Me, they're going to like a Ludacris, Southern Hospitality. They're going to like a Busta Rhymes, Pass the Cavossier. They're going to like a Faith Evans, Love Like This, right? If it is he plays, say, Allison Hines, Togetherness, for sure you're going to like Rupee Jump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to mentally take notes. And that's another thing with me too. When I go to events and I have to play, and even when I'm not playing, because sometimes when you're not playing and DJ's playing, I'm always in learning mode.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's a record that this guy is playing that I probably should be playing.
Right.
You know, because you're not going to know everything, you know, and you had to take mental notes.
Yeah. I think that's what differentiates you too from a just okay DJ to a great DJ is staying in learning mode, as you call it.
You have to stay in learning mode.
Be teachable. And don't ever think that, okay, you got it made or you don't need to hear any more input or
You have to be teachable, because one thing that I don't like that is happening right now with some DJs is the speed at which they are playing some of these songs. right?
You mean changing them or
No.
the pitch, the
Well,
tempo on your pitch?
Changing is one thing, right? But I'm talking about the pitch,
Right. Okay.
right? You got DJs playing power soca, which is already produced and sung fast at some ridiculous speeds.
Yeah.
You know,
And you're changing the dynamic of the song.
you're
and
changing
then
the whole
the
emotion.
emotion of the song, and people are listening to it in a way that they're not, that it wasn't made for.
You know, and listen, up to recently, I saw a DJ play a record that was originally 158, 160 BPM. And when I glanced at his laptop, he was playing it at like 176 to 178.
At that point, that's a different song.
And I'm like, again, as a DJ, you have to control the music. You cannot let the music control you.
Right.
You have to control it. You know, I'm not saying you have to play everything at its original speed, but there is a limit. You know, and it comes back to right and wrong. Don't get me wrong. People will still party, they will still jump up and so on and so forth. Right? But there's a right and wrong way.
I want to put you in a scenario and I want you to tell me how you would kind of get around it. So you're about to go on stage. You get there an hour before. The DJ that is on now realize that you coming up next. So this DJ can play out all the hits.
Right.
What is your response? How would you work around that?
First thing, I would not stop him. Go right ahead. Because one thing I learned, you cannot play everything. I don't care who you are. You cannot play everything. And you know what happens in those scenarios? Especially when they're doing it deliberately, they will play and play and play and play, right? Scratch coming up, boy. Or Private Ryan coming up, boy. Or Puffy coming up. Yeah, boy. Let me make him work for your money tonight, right? They will play and play and play. And you know when they just stop? When they realize the crowd response started to dip a bit and they're not getting the same forward, then is when they tend to stop and then want to hand it over. And for me, most times, I don't know what I'm going to start with until I hear the last song. You know? Then is when I'll know if I need to continue with that vibe or I need to change it.
Right. Right.
But it's not something that I get nervous about. It comes with the territory. You know? It honestly comes with the territory.
What is the difference of like kind of getting DJs ready for radio and versus events?
Oh yeah, there's a big difference. Now, an event, typical event, you have a couple hundred people in front of you, right? That come to hear the DJs play. And if it's a theme party, you know, or a night spot that is known for a certain vibe, you know, they come for that vibe, right? Radio is a totally different ballgame. Radio, you have thousands and thousands of people listening to you, all different ages. You know, you might be in a vehicle, you're an adult, but you might have your son with you, and the radio is on. So you have a much bigger responsibility as a DJ on radio to make sure, you know, that, and I always believe mainstream is king. You know, mainstream always wins in my book. There's a reason why, if you were to ask Mad Cobra, what's his most successful song? The same Mad Cobra that is known for all them Badman tune, he will tell you his biggest song was Flex. In terms of successful.
Right.
You know, look at the appeal.
Yeah.
Right? Also, the same goes for like Shaggy and these artists and so on.
Yeah.
You know, their biggest song tends to be
The
their most
crossovers.
mainstream song.
Yeah.
You know, so radio is a different mindset altogether than party. You know, you have different ages listening. And again, as program director, you know, I kind of guide the sound of each shift. You know, the balance of old with new and, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. So does it really take a lot of time preparing that, or are you kind of like directing and like mapping out how you want the radio to flow? Do you do it like a day
In the beginning,
before,
in the beginning, it takes time, like before the radio station is set up. But like right now, where the station is open, people already know what you're about.
Right.
You know, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
It's a lot easier.
Okay. So I want to talk about your mixing and mastering because you did some collaborations. You work on Machel stuff as well too.
Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff for Machel. Namely Dr. Mashup. I also did. I might have to pause this because I had to think back to what I do it with Machel. I do it.
Should we just go to scratchmaster.com? I got to selected words. I see here the wedding album. There is a project here, Scorch Bonnet with Cool Blaze.
I've done a lot of mastering for Machel.
Right.
You know.
Who are some of the other artists you work with? Problem Child.
That easy. I've worked with Problem Child. Big up to Problem Child. Problem Child was the first artist whose song I ever mixed and mastered. And that song was actually Party Animal, you know, for Problem Child. Skinny Fabulous, that goes without saying. Also, Bunji, Fan, Lyrical, Natty and Thunder, Talpri, Conscience, Skillibang, Beanie Man, Shaggy, Sean Paul. I've had work with all these artists.
So how long ago you started mixing and mastering?
That curiosity came when I went to St Vincent, because when I went to St Vincent, I was in charge of production and doing commercials, and I was always interested in how things sounded. That curiosity was always there, and that led into me experimenting at that time with mixing and mastering and so on. And big up to Kubiyashi as well, that gave me some projects to mess around with and own that craft.
Right. Would you advise other DJs to diverse and like kind of stay in music but just do different disciplines?
It is always to each his own. You can't force anybody to do anything that they don't want to, but it is a plus. That is why when I speak about DJing, I wear many hats. There's Scratch Master, the DJ. There's also Scratch Master, the engineer. So when I hear these things, it irks me because I know the time and effort that these artists put into having their songs prepared a certain way. And Lord knows, if they wanted their songs to be played that fast, they would have sung it that way.
Yeah. So it's good to kind of understand, even if you don't like stay in the area, it's still good to understand the general.
It helps.
Idea of making the music, even like setting up the events and knowing like how speakers work and mixers and how EQing works.
Yeah, and not overdriving and understanding that anytime you see red anywhere is not a good thing.
Right. That's pretty.
Yeah, it's not a good thing, Red.
Red means to stop.
Red definitely means to stop.
Is there anything that you would like to share with the younger DJs now? That you would kind of like the biggest thing that you would like to see change within them?
The biggest thing I would like to see change within them is to really, if it is you want to be a DJ, do it for the right reason. I totally understand we're in a time now where some, and I have to say some, it's not all, glorify what they see on social media. Well, let me tell you something. Social media is a lie. It is not everything you see on social media is true, right? At all. Pages are curated to look a certain way, to present a brand a certain way, right? But that being said, not to discourage anyone that wants to get into it, but just make sure you do it for the right reason. And if it is you have a passion for it, right? Take the time to really understand that to get to the levels of some of the DJs that you glorify, right? And I have to say the good DJs that you glorify, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. And don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen right now. I'll tell you, the first time I went on a set to play, they pulled me off after 3 minutes.
Wow.
Why? I'm a teenager, and this is the thing. I'm a teen, and I think, yeah, boy, I know what to do. I go mash up this dance. You know what I did? I went on. Middle of the party. I put on an instrumental. Then I put on a cappella, and I start to scratch. Right? Then fellas say, nah, scratch. No. You know. So, again, it takes time, but that didn't discourage me. You know?
I have a video here. I don't know if you saw the other episodes, but I do have this thing on the show where you have to leave a gem for the next guest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so one left a gem for you. They didn't know who it is because we don't ever know who the next guest going to be.
Right.
So it's just a random thing. So I have a video here for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play it for you first, and then for exchange for your gem for the next guest.
So this is actually something that I've tested. This is something that I live by. One of the things that I did here, even in this, is I'm always careful to make mention of those that have helped me along the way. It takes a village to raise a child. Oftentimes, when you've been given, something that is noble in the eyes of many, noble in the eyes of man, you do sometimes wear it on your shoulder, and you tend to think, okay, well, look at what I've done. I am nothing without the people that have helped me, whether it be in the most insignificant ways or in the most significant ways. So I say that to say my gem is to honor those that have helped you. And the doors that I'm seeing opening now is a result of making sure that I remember those that have helped me along the way. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that my gem?
That's the gem for you. So you gotta leave one for the next guest now. And it could be anything that you it's like a go-to, anything that you learn along the way and that you will always go into the tool belt for, to push past a certain obstacle or something. Anyway.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, man, we're rolling.
All right. Well, the first thing I would say is that when it comes to life in general, we cannot be afraid to make mistakes, right? Making mistakes is all part of the process. Mm-hmm. And once we understand it as part of the process, the main thing with making mistakes is embrace it. But more than embracing it, learning from it, right? I would not have been where I am today if I didn't make mistakes. I haven't had a flawless DJ career. There have been events that I've played at that didn't go as I would have wanted it to. But guess what? You pick up, you see where you went wrong, and you do all that you can to not repeat it. Because at the end of the day, making mistakes is all part of the process. And once you understand it as part of the process, and it happens to you, you don't let that stop you from going further. Because when you look at certain franchises and other people that are successful, they made mistakes. They have been rejected. They have been pulled down. But you have to continue. And I always believe consistency is one of the keys to being successful.
That's brilliant, brilliant. So that's, in other words, fail forward.
Fail forward. You have to fail forward.
He was a basketball man, and I was talking about this recently, where if you had to calculate the amount of shots that Michael Jordan missed versus the ones that went in.
Yep.
And it doesn't stop him from being great. There's one thing I want to touch on, the last thing. You have been a mentor for Puffy as well, right?
Yeah.
Even I came in more on the business side, and you came in more on the technical and musicality and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How has that been for you?
Honestly, anytime I see Puffy on a stage, I feel proud. For those that don't know, he came to Slam because Simply Smooth was in Boatyard. Mm-hmm. Hearing him play, he was among some people, And he asked, "Who's that guy playing?" "Oh, it's just somebody playing there, man. Some young DJ thing. That was the reaction. That was before Puffy was Puffy.
Yeah.
But again, Adrian and I have the same ear. He told me about it. So I said, let him send a demo. If it is you like him, chances are I would like him. And he sent a demo. And I liked what I heard. But one of the things with Puffy that I have to say, Puffy is one of the few that listened.
Yes.
That listened. I tell people all the time, Puffy is phenomenal. He reminds me of myself with some of the things that he does, obviously, because, you know, the influence is there.
Yeah.
Right? But I can't take all the credit for what he has done, although he credits me every time we play together.
Yeah.
You know, although it was 100% I learned from scratch, now it's 95. The other 5 is YouTube, right? But, you know, one thing I really admire with Puffy, and I mean, you know the journey as well as I do, is the effort and the time.
The work ethic.
The work ethic, because in the early days with him, he was balancing schoolwork. This is before he was even driving. Sugar, slam, daisy, you know. You know, so it's like when I see what is happening for him now, of course it's well deserved.
He put the work in.
He put the work in, but he listened, you know, and I'm really glad to know that, again, he listened, because even for the Red Bull 3 style competition, I'll never forget. I'm not saying that this is the reason that Puffy won, but who knows what would have happened if he didn't do this. So 3 style is going on, and I'm getting calls from him, you know? So long story short, when he realized the competition in the group that he was put in, the best set that he had planned, routine, he used it first instead of last, just to make sure he could get out of that group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he said, boy, I ain't want to chance it. It had a guy in there, I don't know his name, but he was good. So I told him, I said, Puffy, my biggest advice to you is this. And I'm going to tell you straight. Don't go into this competition thinking you're going to scratch better than these guys. That is not going to happen. These are guys that, even with me, I wouldn't even think. However, this is not DMC. This is Red Bull 3 style. And based on the criteria that you have shown me here, the one thing you have over all these DJs is personality. Right?
Presentation.
Presentation.
Yeah.
You know how to sell it. So use that to your advantage. But what had happened was, when he did that routine and he ended up getting out and now he's in the final, he sent me his final routine. I listened to it and I told him I like it up to a point. And he's like, oh, God, scratch. I say, yes, Puffy. I mean, it's up to you. You could change it if you want. But there was a certain routine you had sent me. And I told him from where in the routine to cut it. I say, come out of that, because he was going on an EDM road there that, to me, had lost me a bit.
Right.
He made the adjustment. And in watching back the video, where he made the adjustment, I saw Jazzy Jeff's reaction. It was when the Dawn Pen and so on came in. Right? Because he had that in another routine that he didn't do.
Yeah.
And I told him, bring that back. Because that, when he sent me that routine, it caught me like, yo.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yep. And because he listened, most important.
Again, he listened, you know, and he is still learning.
Yeah.
You know, and he still has, what I like with him is, despite the success, he has not changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The success hasn't changed him. And that's another thing too. You can't let success change you.
Because he does it for the right reasons, and which you made that point. You gotta do it for the right reasons.
He genuinely likes music. I mean, you could see it. You know, it's embedded with him, in him, you know, and I mean, it's only
and the collaboration is crazy. When you get you and Puff on stage together is magical.
Yeah, well, when we on stage, that
I remember the last thing I can't get out of my memory at all, and that is
Toronto,
buddy. Oh my God. Even Alison Haynes was there and
Yo,
she went crazy at that back and forth. That was a classic.
I will tell you all something. That Toronto thing was not planned. Big up to Soca Prince, Dr. J.
Yes.
He knows that was not planned. And Puffy and I were like telling him afterwards, you real get through, you know. That wasn't planned.
He got a good show.
He got a hell of a show. And I got a hell of a headache after. Because here I am going 1 for 1. And it was fun.
Yeah.
You know, with somebody that has been influenced by what I do. So I felt as if I was going against myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I would do one, then he would do one. I would do Yo.
That was the perfect teacher and student clash I have ever seen.
Yo, that was crazy. But I don't think Puffy even realized what I did. Because when it just started, it was like, at that time, it was like new music.
Yeah.
And people started to get into the vibe of it. And I say, you know what? I ain't going down that new music road, you know. You got to follow me.
Yeah.
And then is when I went back to the 2000s and so on. And now that was memorable.
So before we land the plane, what is next for Scratch Master? Which other island you skip into now?
None. Nah, I don't see myself. You see, you all get so accustomed to me leaving one island, go to another island, go to another island.
That's part of your brand, no, bro.
Nah, you could go and come back. I'm in Barbados now. I'm going back to Grenada in the morning. You know, but I think what is next would not necessarily be another island. You know, for me, my passion still remains with audio, DJing, anything music related. You know, and I always try to do what I can to perfect that craft. Still learning. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be doing a couple events as well, right? I team up with a partner of mine from St Vincent to do brunch and soca in Grenada. Also, I started an R&B party that I do in Grenada called Emotions. You know, seeing that grow is a blessing, you know, but I am just really focused on being the best version of myself in everything that I could do, you know. And I think another gem I could let off as well for the younger DJs, right? In anything that you're doing, think, you know.
Simple.
Think. You know, too many times guys go to play music and you could tell they're just going through the motions with it. But really put some thought into what you're doing and ask yourself, okay, is this the best possible song that I could play right now? Do I need to cut this song so short, especially if the chorus ain't come yet and people start singing it? You know what I mean? Really step back and think, and you control the music. Don't let the music control you. And you'll be fine.
Yeah. One other question. I mean, I keep getting more.
Nah, no problem.
Why is it important for a DJ to say no to some gigs?
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. There's something called burnout. Burnout is real. That is one reason. However, for me, I've turned down numerous gigs already. Now, every DJ has to know how they want their brand to be positioned in the market. All right? And if you get booked for a gig, say you are custom playing for, say, 15 to 25-year-olds, and somebody calls you to do a gig that requires you to play music for, say, 45-year-olds and up, and you're not comfortable with it, you know, in a situation like that, you know, and you figure, boy, this ain't really aligned with what I am about, you could say no. You know, nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're any less of a DJ, right? And it goes the other way around. You know, you have some DJs that have been DJing a while. I mean, they would not go and play in a high school ball. You know, it just does not align.
So you have to, it's a little bit of self-discovery where you got to understand your brand.
You got to understand your brand. Understanding your brand is key.
Is key.
It's so key.
And pick what aligns with that.
Yeah. Pick what aligns with that. And understand too that you don't have to take everything. You know, you don't have to take everything. And I'm a firm believer in less is more. You know, because you don't want to oversaturate yourself to the point that people are tired of seeing you, so to speak. You know, it really is a tricky thing.
Yeah, it is. All right, so Scratch, I mean, my last words for you would be that I'm really happy that Barbados had a great gift when Habib decided to bring you down. Because you helped shape the sound of radio to a certain degree, you know, and brought it to a more mainstream international sound.
International is key. I mean, you have one of the biggest pop stars in the world who's from Barbados.
Correct.
You know,
You also lend a helping hand to Puffy. Puffy is where he is today because he had the influence of you too. You know,
I tell you, in life, you never know. I mean, I always believe everything in life happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason Lyndon went to the club that night and saw Bubba and gave me that MSN Messenger. There's a reason I came Barbados and Adrian was in Boatyard and saw Puffy.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and you know, the funny thing about it is not until some time passes and you look back, then you're like, you know.
It's true. So
Then you could be like, yeah, boy, well, that was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen that way.
yeah, everything aligned for a reason.
Everything.
All right, thanks for coming through, Scratch.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure being here. Finally, you know, Gems with friends. I am Matthew's friend, so.
Yeah, we had to fly you in. Not really, but.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that one. Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap.
Yeah, man.
Data has shown that over 60% of you watching these videos are not subscribed yet. It would be a great support to me and the channel if you can just click that subscribe button and hit your notification bell. That way, you'll be notified whenever I drop a new episode.